players in the team. Keep a great company in the stream.
It's a Murali End. Welcome to the show. We're here when you're high. We're here when you're low. Some days you're happy, some days you wanna win. When happy, it's we, when mad, it's them. It's the same place, Murali End. Sri Lanka cricket, we gon' represent. So tell a friend.
Welcome to the Murali End. My name's Mark Machado. I'm joined by Nick Brooks. We are starting this show just moments after Sri Lanka's what ended up being quite a dramatic, very, very, very late win over Pakistan in the Tri-Series. It means that Sri Lanka have managed to put together 2 wins on the bounce. They'll advance through to the final where they'll play Pakistan yet again on, I think it's on Sunday. There's a lot to talk about in this game. Sri Lanka made 184 for 5. Pakistan finished on 178 for 7. It went down to the final couple of balls of the game. We want your thoughts. We want your comments. We'll find time. We'll talk for about 10 or 15 minutes, and then we'll give you guys an opportunity to come and join us as well. So think about what you want to say. Think about, what we've missed and come and join. Sometimes Murali End's therapy. Sometimes it's to celebrate. I think today it's a bit of everything. Nick, what's your thoughts after that game?
Hey, Marky. I thought that was really, really dreadful. And I know that I shouldn't be saying that when Sri Lanka so rarely win games of T20 cricket these days. But I think, look, the last time I was on a week ago, we saw the issues with 6-5. Today, we massively saw the issues with 7-4, even with Dasun as the 5th bowler going okay. When you have 2 or 3 guys have outstanding days, as Kamal Mashara did today, as Dushmantha Chameera did, both at top and tail, and you still really struggle to beat a side who themselves have issues, who are already qualified for a final, I think that's indicative of the kind of issues that Sri Lanka have, of where Sri Lankan cricket in white ball terms is at the moment. And if I can just make a broader point, Marky, kind of digress from today's game, because it seems like a lot has changed since I was last on the pod a week ago. I look back at the Asia Cup squad that Sri Lanka picked. And from that squad, it seems that Nuanadu, Charmika, Binura, Welalage, Charith, and Patirana, they've all disappeared. I know Patirana's injured. Since then, we've seen Janith Lianage brought into the Asia Cup squad and become seemingly a starter for every game. We've seen Barnaka Rajapaksa called up and dropped. We've seen Viaskanth called up and dropped. We've seen 3 regulars for the last 18 months in Charith, Kamindu, and Tushara all lose their place in the side. It's just... we've seen Milan Ratnayaka called up to the squad based on a batting performance against Pakistan Shaheens. Like, this is just total all-out chaos, man. It's free fall, and we're months away from a World Cup. And how can you run a professional international cricket team like this? This is like pub team stuff, no?
Oh, Nick, a week's such a long time in Sri Lankan cricket, right? And who knows where we'll be next week. As it stands now, there's a World Cup. We've been talking about Sri Lanka being on the road to the World Cup for a few months now. There's a World Cup in Sri Lanka. We've got a lot of home games in February, not that far away, kind of 3 months away, right? 2 months away, really, because it's the kind of end of November now. And the only cricket we've got between now and then is when England turn up at the end of January. Right? There's nothing in the books from this final as it stands all the way till the end of January. There's rumours of a Tri-Series happening. There's rumours Pakistan might come to Sri Lanka in the next few weeks. I totally agree. I mean, it's a home World Cup. We've got a bunch of good players. This should be a massive moment for a lot of our players, except I feel like we are tripping into it. And I think today, and the performance we saw today, just totally summed it up as well. We're playing like a team that a week ago had a different set of tactics and half a different squad. We're playing like a team where the players don't know whether they're in or out.
But the players have no idea, right? Because where's the sense of like depth chart? How does Nuanadu going from being in the squad to being leapfrogged by Lianage, Pavan Ratnayaka, and Banu? Like three guys in the space of a month when no one's playing cricket have suddenly jumped ahead of a guy who was in a squad a month ago. So either you've got no idea who's a better player than who, or you're just knee-jerk changing things based on individual performances as they come day after day. Eshan Malinga's probably going to get dropped off his performance today. Like, how can the players have any confidence given the way that Sanath and the selectors have gone about things? There's news coming out, and I saw an article from Fidel yesterday saying that Charith isn't going to be T20 captain at the World Cup, pretty much as we all expected. Like, it's laughable. If it wasn't so painful for us, it really would be a complete farce.
Yeah, I mean the thing we've been calling for months and months and months, basically, for since Sanath got the job, is kind of wanting somebody to come out from SLC and tell us what the plan is, tell us how we're going to win games, what the kind of overarching philosophy of how to get major tournament trophies back to Sri Lanka is. And that doesn't seem to, like, no one's ever kind of come out and said that. We kind of try and piece it together from what we see. Really, though, what we see is it's just swings from a state of this is all good, everything's heading in the right direction, everything is going swimmingly, to this is crazy. Right, what's the next cab off the rank? Basically, who is doing well? It kind of, we need batting. It doesn't matter if whoever we're going to bring in next is a batter or not. They could be a bowler, as long as it's kind of trying to change something up. I think it's just totally destabilized for the players. It's not really creating a good environment. The players who are going to end up succeeding in this are the ones who are kind of better at handling kind of the more resilient players, right? Which I think takes us to a conversation about the people like Jonathan Lianage, because I think someone like him, and I might, forgive him if you heard me say this before, I think he's much more resilient in this kind of setup than other players with a kind of similar skill set to him. I don't think, whatever you think about Barnaka Rajapaksa, the setup right now isn't going to ever see the best of him. And I don't think, I think for him, probably, in his mid-30s, that moment is probably gone now, sadly. But Lianage is somebody who I just want to know what SLC management will be thinking about his performance today, because he got 24 from 24 balls. He comes in at a time when we're kind of doing well, and he kind of, I suppose, in a way, kind of just carries on anchoring the innings. In the end, 184 ended up being enough, but it very, very nearly wasn't. And if it wasn't, then you got to say maybe a different player. Maybe Wani, maybe Pavan Ratnayaka. Pavan's played 2 games, hasn't done anything. That's not his fault, by the way. Like, it's the way the wickets tumble. I mean, I think I suspect Lianage will keep his place, because I think he'll be able to argue, or management will say he's done what was meant to be done in that time. I don't know what your thoughts are on his role today.
I mean, it's just farcical, man. First of all, I want to say and be really clear about this. Like, I don't blame Januk Lianage at all for this situation, because Sanath and the management are asking him to do something and be something that he's never shown himself to be over the course of his career. And he's a guy who I think is 30. First thing, how can you send Januk Lianage in that position when Sri Lanka are going great guns, 11th, 12th over? You've got Wani, you've got Pavan, and you've got Shanaka behind him. Like, whose idea is it to send Lianage? Second of all, yeah, he's chewed up 20% of Sri Lanka's overall deliveries and struck at a runner ball. As you say, Marky, that nearly does, arguably should end up costing Sri Lanka the game. I think also, if you look at the way those 24 runs were made, like, to be honest, if you score a run of ball, but the guy, you've got Kamal Mashara going great at the other end, and if you're getting off strike every ball, nudging singles, then it's not great, but I kind of can almost get it. But Lianage just looked like he had so few boundary options. He scored one with a kind of nice scoop, and then the other was edged, but then he looked like he was trying to hit the ball harder and harder, finding fresh air swipes. It was difficult to watch. And look, I said last week when I was on, Kamindu hasn't done great, but he's been asked about in difficult positions, shunted up and down the order. Charith hasn't done great in recent years, but how many teams are picking Janith Lianage over either Charith Asalanka or Kamindu Mendis? Both of those guys were picked up by IPL franchises last year, albeit Charith as a replacement. Like, how far down do you think the IPL teams would have to go before they're considering giving Janith Lianage a contract? Like, I'm sorry, I don't mean to be disparaging, but he's a guy, he's a brilliant ODI accumulator, but he strikes 110 in domestic cricket. He hasn't been a full regular in the LPL until the last edition of it. Like, I don't get it.
The only thing I can say is I just wonder if they've seen something in him that we haven't seen, and they're waiting for that to happen. I want to talk about. There's a great question that's come in from Praveen, who's so in February when the World Cup starts in SL, who's the best 11 you want playing? Like, I think I want to get to that. Before we get to that, though, I want to talk about the bowling, right? Because you made a really good point about Isham Malinga. Sometimes I think, we moan and we complain about the 11s and who's in the squad and not. He's not in the squad. Sometimes I think the best thing that can happen to a player is not to be in the squad, not to be in the 11, right? Because your reputation grows exponentially when you're not playing. Isham Malinga had a tough day today. I think this is probably a moment for him when he needs the arm around him and he needs the coaching staff to come in around him. He's had a bit of a, it kind of feels to a lot of us that he's kind of come out of nowhere. I know that's not quite true. And got himself very quickly into the IPL teams and then into the national side. And, we talk about him like he's an undroppable player. Today, he looked quite droppable. My worry isn't that I don't think he's not able to bowl at this level, not able to take wickets at this level, not able to be a handful at this level. He obviously is. The problem is, this is what I worry about our setup in particular. When he has a bad day, how are they going to react to it? I think dropping him for the final will be an absolute disaster. I want to get your take on that, Nick.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I think what we just saw is that bowlers can have bad days in T20s. Like, bowlers will have bad days in T20s, right? We see it with some of the best bowlers in the world. That said, I thought Malinga lost his radar a bit today. I thought that we saw from quite early on in the Pakistan innings that slow balls were really, really effective on this pitch. There was a couple that Salman Mirza bowled in the power play. I don't know if it's because he's got that real topspin from the back of the hand, but they reared up, and it just felt to me like, like Dasan looked good in the power play. It felt like balls that were in the 110, 120s kind of range were a lot more effective than 135 plus. And I didn't feel Sri Lanka went to that as much as Pakistan did. Ironically, I thought it could have been a good day for Janith Lianage to bowl because he is at that gentler pace and he might have got something out of the wicket. The Eshan didn't seem to be. I mean, we've talked about it time and again, Marky, that I think a real issue is through the middle overs. It really does look like Hasaranga is the only guy who is a wicket-taking threat. I guess the one good thing you've got there is waiting in the wings, you've got Matisha Patirana, who is like the perfect foil to Hasaranga in those middle overs if he can get fit and firing. But yeah, I really hope they don't drop Malinga for the final. But yeah, it's hard, isn't it, when you don't have anywhere to turn and one guy isn't having the best day.
Guys, I'm going to put the link into the studio to come in and join us into the chat section. Do come and join. We'd love to hear what you think. Love to hear what you say. You've heard enough of us having a rant. Nick, we're in a final, though. That's something to get buzzed about. I just checked the finals on Saturday, not on Sunday, which my wife will be very happy to hear. 1 p.m. on a Saturday. I might have to book her a spa day or something to you know, Australia aren't even playing any cricket this weekend for her to watch her side. But there we go. Finals are good though, aren't they, Nick?
Finals are good. We like finals, and I know it's like very doom and gloom, but we did see some really great performances today, right? And Kamal Mashara, I thought the way he played spin especially was superb. And we saw him get a few starts in the ODI series, so I'm pleased to see him go on and get a big one. And I think that he is a guy who's cemented himself now probably in the top 3 for the T20 World Cup.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think the other star of the day, probably the Sri Lanka's player of the match. In fact, I think he might actually have got player of the match. We started this before they announced it. Was Chameera for me. He was sensational, and that final over is goes into that big book of Sri Lankan final over myths and legends, doesn't he? And we've seen quite a few of those in the last few months. We saw Chameera with one against Bangladesh in the Women's World Cup. We saw Dilshan Madishankar with a final over, a legendary final over against Zimbabwe a few months ago. And that now Chameera has gone and got himself written into that big giant book, right? He's become, when I thought a year ago, I would have thought I'm not sure if he's going to make it to the World Cup. I think his time might be over, definitely in for the T20 side. But he's come back in a big way, hasn't he? And he feels like a big important part of the team for us.
Yeah, it's fantastic to see he looks back to his best. And I am with you, Marky. I think I probably thought a year ago that his days were done as an international cricketer almost. So much time on the injury table, but he's going to be really valuable for Sri Lanka moving forward. I think he's a pretty genuine kind of 2-2 bowler, right? He's really good up top and he nails Yorkers at the death. I think he's probably the pack leader, right? The guy who, we were asked about an 11. Chameera is probably the one seam bowler who you pen in at the moment, because I don't know what they're going to do with the other slots. I guess you think that it's between Tushara, Malinga, and Patirana for what seems like it'll be one spot. It's funny, man, because I remember at the start of the Asia Cup we were talking about this, and I said, who most of the players in the 11 are going to be at the start of the World Cup, and over the past couple of months the turbulence has just increased out of nowhere. And now I feel, aside Patis, should also big up Kushal because he really encouraging knock from him today. But yeah, aside Patis, KJP, the spinners.
I think there's in the comment section, there's a lot of question marks over KJP. I have my own personal question marks over KJP as well.
Me too, man. But he scored runs against India, and I think that's going to be enough for Sanath to keep him in, right?
Yeah.
I think I'm just going to come out and say it. I think the broader issue is actually that Sanath doesn't understand modern T20 cricket and that he shouldn't be in this role. And whether he continues in the test side or not, I just think he's got to go as the white ball coach.
I don't think it's that he doesn't understand T20 cricket. I think the even wider problem is I don't think anyone around him kind of understands it. And also what they're not, the big thing that they're not adapting to is that when you go and play international cricket, every team you're playing is stocked full of players who are as good as the players we've got. So it's not just get our best 11 players out there, look at our wider pool, figure out what the weaknesses in the opposition are, and also figure out how you're going to try and get, how you're going to play a game to limit the amount of runs the opposition score, and play a game that works to our strengths as well. I think that it's not just Sanath. There's way too many people in the dugout around him who could be saying, we need to do this, we need to do that, we need to do this. And you can see it with the indecision around who's in the squad, who's in the 11, what configuration we're going with. 6, 7. That we're not allowed to say that in the UK anymore, but 6 or 7 seems to be the big problem in for Sanath at the moment, because I think that's where the thinking is stuck. I don't think changing Sanath at this point, I think is almost pointless. Let him see it through. I also think, you know, it's not just him. You got to change some of the structure underneath it and some of the thinking underneath it, because I think that's wrong. Because I think there's a very kind of noble idea of, right, who are our best 11 cricketers, get them on the pitch. It's like it's beyond that now. Like, mate, I don't know. Are we being unfair? Let us know in the comments. Come and join us. Right, I will take the frame off, and I will bring our friend Arsan. Arsan, bro, how's it going, man? How you doing?
How's it going, guys? Good evening. I'm good. How are you guys doing?
Yeah, I'm
Yes,
good.
that's good to see you, man.
How's
Nice to see
Istanbul
you
tonight?
guys as well. I'm freezing, man. But yeah, just kind of happy that Sri Lanka won. It's really cold, man. It's going to rain a lot now. But yeah, man. Look, I think it was good that Sri Lanka won. Very nervy match. I ain't gonna lie. Kind of missed a bit of it at the start. But look, I think it's as much as it's a great victory for us. I think this victory should not paper over any cracks. I think Sri Lankan cricket right now is in a bit of a crisis. And I think, to be honest, I feel like the standard of Sri Lankan cricket has kind of regressed over the past couple of months. You kind of look at the treatment of Charit Asalanka, for example, and I felt like that was just horrendous what the board did. You know, because he wanted to withdraw from the Pakistan series because of fearing safety, and this already happened to us before back in 2009. So in that way, I kind of understand. But the fact that the board didn't really back him and just kicked him out, is disgusting. And I hope that he's there for the T20 World Cup. But yeah, I think going back to both you guys' points as well, I feel like, yes, I don't think it would be wise to get rid of Sanath right now, because he has done a good job in the past, and just because things don't really go your way, like that means that you have to like sack him or anything like that. But I feel like the people around him are the problem. Upu Taranga is selector, like, I mean, I just don't get some of his decision making. Um, but yeah, look, it's a good victory. It's good to get into a final. I think that'll give the team a bit of confidence considering how they started the tri series off. Um, but look, I've said this before, like during the Asia Cup as well. Like there are certain players that do not deserve to be in the squad. KJP is one of them. Dasun Shanaka is another one as well. And I feel like these spots could be taken by people like Pavan Ratnayaka, Milan Ratnayaka, Vishant Halambage, VS Kant, for example. Even Dunit Valalage, I think, should come back to the squad. I feel like he would add a bit more to our middle order, and he's somebody that could come and chip in with like a couple of overs as well.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot there, right? From what you just said. I mean,
Hmm.
what I will say is, I like, whenever you think about Dustin and even Charith, right? I kind of feel like they're both having to stop playing this game, right? Dustin Shanaka is an absolute soldier of Sri Lankan cricket. Whatever job he's asked to do, open the bowling, finish the bowling, bat, wherever, come in. We play with a false middle, right? So it means that even if you bat six or fifth or sixth, wherever he bats in the order, you can come in at any given time, right?
Hmm.
Any time beyond the first four balls, you might be in. Right, it's the new Sri Lankan way. So I kind of, and like, he's been, he's had the captaincy, he's had it taken away. He's been in
Hmm.
the side, he's had it taken away. Sri Lanka, I feel like there's so much pettiness around the way we run our game, around the way it's administrated, that it's really at this point holding us back. And you look around the world, and you look at, like, these things don't happen in Australia. Like in England, they don't, like, people don't almost care enough about cricket for these things to become a thing, right? In India, when a player's done, they just leave, right? Their politics plays out totally differently to the way ours does. If you look at India, they're transitioning from Kohli, Rohit, Dravid into a totally different, different coaches, different team, and a total rebuild. When Sri Lankan cricket, we can't do that. I've been saying for months, I was like, don't be surprised if when that World Cup squad comes out in late January, that you see Angela Matthews, you see Chandimal in those squads. And that's not a slur on any of those players, right? It's because hard conversations aren't had, difficult conversations aren't had, and there is no forward thinking. What do you think, Nick?
Yeah, I do. I agree with pretty much everything you've said, Marky. Just to pick up on one point, yeah, I do think that now is too late to get rid of Sanath before the World Cup, and he's got to stay, right? Because we've got 4 matches scheduled, and then the tournament. You can't bring in a new coach at that stage. But I would ask, if you look at all the people around him, from the selectors to the backroom staff, everyone is junior to Sanath, right? It's all guys who he's played with at the back end of his career, the likes of Upal Taranga, Janto Mendes, Taranga Paranavitana. I think Jehan Mubarak is still the analyst, right?
Yeah, he's the analyst.
Jehan's a guy who I've had numerous long conversations with. Incredibly smart guy. Really, really, I would say a really smart cricket brain. And so I just wonder whether the dynamic is that the people around Sanath don't feel like they can challenge his decision making. I don't know. It's hard to tell from the outside, but I mean, who is picking these teams? It does seem like someone's kind of drawing names out of a hat almost. And it doesn't feel like there's any kind of long-term plan, I guess.
There's a message that's come in here. Who do you think? What do you think about DDS at number 4 slot? He needs for T20 World Cup. Look, I love Dhananjaya, and I'm not saying no. I'm just saying the problem is that we keep chopping and changing. I think at this stage we need to figure out what our depth. Who's best at batting where, and who are the best positions. You might build up depth charts. You might be in a situation where some people are on the depth chart 2 or 3 times. They could open. They're our 3rd best opener, but they're our best player at number 5, right? Just for example, I'm not thinking of any player in particular with that. But maybe DDS is in the conversation. I just think now, as it stands, as far as we know, and I know there's people saying we might be playing Pakistan in January, there's still rumours I'm hearing Bangladesh might turn up at any given moment. That can happen any time in Sri Lankan cricket. Before you know it, bang, Bangladesh are there, and you're playing them again. But we've got to do it. We've got to just play some cricket, figure it out. I think it's a real shame. 6 months ago, we were in a really good position to be really set for this World Cup, right? It should have been finish the series, go into the LPL, and maybe after the LPL, there was 1 or 2 spots, and if players were exceptional, they might have got themselves into it. However, I feel now I'm further away from trying to predict, because there's no point me even trying to tell you who's going to be in the squad, because I have no idea what that squad might be going into the World Cup than I was 3 months ago. I don't know if you think the same, Nick, or
yeah, man. Dhananjaya De Silva's been on the scene for more than a decade, and he's played 45 T20s, right? That's for a reason. He's never been a guy who has been a first choice selection for Sri Lanka in T20s. He doesn't strike fast enough. I don't think he's the answer. Just to your other point, man, I was just thinking when we started this podcast how positive we all were going into the last T20 World Cup. And if you think about what's happened to the team since then, a lot of young players have grown. We haven't seen anyone retire, right? We've seen Pathum develop a completely new kind of level to his game. We should be in a much better position going into this World Cup than we were going into the one in the summer of 2024. But instead, I mean, it's like we're in a completely different state, right? Any optimism we had has entirely dissipated. And how can that be the case?
Let me bring Kulanu into the conversation. Kulanu, bro, thanks for joining us today. How are you doing?
I'm good, Mark.
Firstly, 2 things before we get into it. Happy Thanksgiving, because I know you're in the US.
Thank you, you too.
And I assume, because I know you're in DC and there's been some issues there the last, 36 hours or so, I assume you're all safe with all that, and that's all good, right?
Thank you. Yes.
Right, how do you feel about the game today? And please, can you say something to brighten up Nick's day about the T20 series?
I would agree with what Nick said at the start. It was a game that we should have won much more easily. That's the full analysis. I would say the bottom line, right? Because we had them 4 down. We should have been able to close out the game earlier, because it's something that we have as an issue, right? Because we've been getting ahead in the game and then letting the other team come back. Of course, they played well, the two batters out there in the end. But I think I have been calling out the team to stick to a strategy. I mean, I personally like them going with 6-5, but let's say they go with 7-4. Today, there were period, even with the fifth ball. So we didn't even have like a Charit Asalanka or a Kamilu Bendis or a Lalagi to just actually make up some overs because we know, as you said, Nick, the fact that bowlers can have bad days. Both Teacher and Malinga had bad days, I would say, not just Malinga. So in that case, I mean, I'm happy that obviously two things can be true at the same time, right? Because a lot of friends also are talking about the game after the sort of the thrilling victory that we had, whether to be happy about it or whether to be sad about it. I think we can have both those feelings at the same time, where we felt like we are in the final, because if we go back to 2 games ago, 9 times out of 10, the chances are that we are not in the final and it's a Pakistan team on the final. So I recognize the fact that the team has come back and bounced back in terms of results. But it still remains the case that we are below the strategy and the performances that we need to have to go into a World Cup. But we just have to, at least, I know long-term issues have to be solved, but I think even better in the short term, even the plasters that we put can be better plasters. In the short term, we can actually work out a better strategy with the players we have. And I hope, as you said, the players are being back. Like, for example, Ishan Malinga, I hope he doesn't get dropped to the final.
Yeah, I mean, I like this idea that you bring, that two things can be true. It's interesting, though, right? Because I kind of feel what we're seeing, and I'd love to get your thoughts on this as well, Nick, is it's a kind of slipping of standards in Sri Lankan cricket, right? If I told you, even 2 weeks ago, this tri-series is happening, it's Zimbabwe, Pakistan, Sri Lanka in Pakistan, and I said on the last group stage match between Pakistan and Sri Lanka get a win in the last over, which means they just about scrape themselves into the final of it. Would you take that? You'd kind of be slightly disappointed, right?
Like, 100%, man. Going into the Asia Cup, I thought Sri Lanka were in a far better place than Pakistan in T20 cricket. I think Kaluna's right that two things can be true, and we can be happy and sad about this performance. But I think he makes a really, really pertinent point about the lack of planning, right? I think we would all accept that Sanath knows more about cricket than us, that he spends more time with the squad than us. He sees stuff that we obviously can't see. And so while we can agree with his decisions, if there's a clear sense of decision making that underpins them, it's hard to argue with that. I think what we're getting all of us so upset about is this kind of complete scattergun approach where Banu's in for a game and then he's out, Pavan's in for a game and then he's out, Nuanidu's in for a game and then he's out. It's 6-5, it's 7-4. Like, it's just it's almost like a kind of that film with Adam Sandler where he's dating Drew Barrymore and every day he wakes up and he can't remember the day before. Do you know what I mean? It's like a 51st dates. It's 51st days with Sanath and every day he's got a different idea.
50 T20s. Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't like watching any of them.
Yeah. I think it's interesting what you said about Pakistan, right? Because I do think, and here Mark Machado, the optimist, arrives. I kind of think that it's easy for us to come on these shows and go, what has happened to Sri Lankan cricket? 2 wins in the last 9 games. We're struggling to beat teams. We thought we had a better, we should be able to beat quite easily in terms of Zimbabwe and Bangladesh and Afghanistan, and those kind of sides. But then I also think you look at it and there's loads of special players in our team, right? There's Wani, there's, Chameera was special today. There's, Kusal, both the Kusals can have special days. There's Patham, who's turning into a right Rolls Royce of a player, isn't he? And you just think that really the thing, there's 2 things that are happening with Sri Lankan cricket one is something that happens a lot, which is Sanath and the coaching setup aren't quite getting things right. The other thing is that now I feel, and we've talked. This has been a big theme with the Murali End for the last 2 or 3 years. Is there's more depth than there's ever been, and the two of them are kind of combining. Where you go back to kind of 2009, let's say, right, 2008. And basically, every Sri Lankan cricket fan can tell you not just the 11, but the two players that could be in that 11, right? There's basically like 14, let's say 14 good players who we think can play at this level. Now, because there's almost an embarrassment of riches, there's so many great bowlers, there's so many batters who we think could do a job at this level for us that haven't even been given a proper run at it. And it's almost like that combined with the fact that Sanath's leadership seems to be a bit isn't fluent, isn't confident in itself, is creating this kind of weird melee. And it's all like there's a bit of me that's almost like, it was weirdly, it was kind of better when we only had like 16 international players, and 5 of them were really good, and then there was a clutch of about 8 that could kind of do something. That's kind of where I'm at. Am I talking nonsense, Kulanu, or like?
No, you're right. I think the fact that so for today's game, for example, is good data to prepare for the World Cup in the short run. Why I say that is because it showed us how we can possibly lose even after making 180 and having a decent bowling attack. So you just mentioned, Mark, that we had 4 or 5 good players, right? So today there were 2 good players. Who are the third and the fourth and the fifth? So those guys need to step up, the senior ones. I mean, I know like bowlers can have a bad game. Like for example, Mahesh Deekshana really needs to fine tune his game in terms of try and bring out 9 out of 10 performances 9 out of 10 times. Or somebody like I don't know Kusal Mendes, how can he kick on a little more? He played well, but he could try and do that a little more. So if we get those 2 big performances into maybe 3 or 4, so Mishar and Chameera was good today. But then if we can have the third and the fourth, then the rest can scrape in. I mean, at least in the short term, I'm talking about, right? So I think I think today's game, you can't forget it. Like you can't wake up tomorrow and like forget today. Today we look at like, okay, when the bowlers, for example, the last game against Pakistan, there was a lot of talk of why is Mandu Hasan bowling in the power play, blah, 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 right? Because we had only 120 or 130. We just had to like try and get a wicket or 2 and see. Now you had a par total or like just above par total, and then our bowling got tested whether we could defend or not. We almost didn't, and we saw some issues. So I hope the team reflects on that. That's
it. The thing is, right, generally, now that we're not playing till, I know there's rumours. I'm going to just discount the rumours. Until we see something solid, I'm just going to say our next game, I think, is due to be something like the 21st or 22nd of January, right? And we
hold
all
on,
know...
Saturday.
Oh, sorry. Saturday. After Saturday, right, that gap is so big after Saturday that we know when that squad comes out in January, absolutely anyone could be in that squad. Because the other thing that seems to happen with us is that the longer you go between squads being announced or between playing games, like the less what you've actually done in a Sri Lanka shirt seems to matter. So it's like almost a reset if there's a big gap. That's what makes you really nervous about this.
Also, just a small point about those games against England in January. They're at Asgiria, right? At Pallekele, which Asgiria is not a ground anymore for the past 25 years. They are at Pallekele, which is not going to be a venue for the World Cup. The ICC is supposedly taking over the curation of World Cup venues. We know what kind of pitches Sanath likes to prepare at home. That could be an absolute dirt track minefield. England have a habit of getting themselves into trouble against spin. Do you see what I'm getting at? There could be a real danger of those games sending a kind of misplaced message about where Sri Lanka are, and then they come onto flatter tracks for the World Cup, and it's real problems again.
Oh, win now is what's killed us. It's what's killing us. Right, Kulina, I'm going to let you go. Enjoy your Thanksgiving. eat too much food because I think that's what you're meant to do today. Sal, I'll bring you on because I think this is your first time joining the show today.
Oh, hi there, hi guys. No, it's my second time. Good to be back.
Wicked.
Yes, Sal. Nice to meet you, man.
Hi there, and just thank you for the channel really as well. So I grew up watching cricket in sort of like the late 90s and 2000s, the golden era essentially, and having this kind of community is just fantastic. So thank you so much, guys, for doing it. It's really
well. Thanks for getting involved and do help us by spreading the word and telling all other Sri Lankan cricket fans about us. Anyway, what's your take on the game today?
Yeah, just want to say well done, Sri Lanka. It doesn't happen very often. We can string sort of 2 wins together against different teams. So just big well done to them. And actually, I'm really proud of them actually for turning things around essentially for what they used to be only a few days ago. And just really happy for Kamil Mashara. Like, glad to see he got some runs. I think it would do a world of confidence for him. Like, I know he has the potential. And I think Foko said it before. He brings something different. He's like a left-hander, slightly taller. And I think it kind of breaks up the usual combination at the top where you have 2 right-handers and Mendes and Patham. So I think it adds a different dimension and kind of really helps the team in that respect. So really good for him and good for Chameera as well. And like you guys mentioned, he's been in and out, injured, etc. And like just really good to see him kind of be back and in full throw, injury-free, essentially. It was a shame I didn't get to see Pavan Ratnayaka bat or score any runs. And it's a bit odd, having him I think he was down as a number 7. And you kind of question why did he not get a look? We've seen other players as well. And I've seen a few comments kind of like, disregarding Pavan just because of his strike rate in domestic cricket. And we said the same thing about Patham Nissanka, about him performing in limited overs, essentially. We kind of badged him early on. I'm sure, everyone's included in this as a pure proved us.
Oh.
Guys, can you hear me?
Hello? Oh, there's a
can't see me.
I'll take you off. Hold on. I'll take you off once. I think what might be a good idea is if you leave and then come back, join the studio again, and I'll put you back on. I'll bring Arson back in as well. How's it going, bro? We kind of we lost you mid point. Oh, we can't hear. We can see you, but we can't hear you. Shakib has got into Murali End.
Can you guys hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you now. Yeah.
I want to get your thoughts actually. What do you think of the series so far? Because I know there were like quite a few positives as well, especially with this match and the previous match against Zimbabwe as well. But I kind of wanted to hear your opinions as well. Moving forward, what does Sri Lanka really need to do? Whether that's with the team, whether that's with the board, like is there any person or a bunch of people that you guys would like on board?
It's a very good question. I think the my answer to that would be is basically let's get to the World Cup, see what happens.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think if Sri Lanka have a stormy World Cup, which I think it's we've got the talent that it can happen. As frustrated as we have been over the last few months following them, we could definitely, especially because it's at home, we could definitely turn up and have a good World Cup. And there, I think if they have a good World Cup, I think it's gonna be really difficult to get rid of Sanath at that point if he unless he wants to stay. I don't know what you think, Nick.
Fair enough. Nick?
I would like to see Sri Lanka hire a white ball coach who's got real T20 experience, like who has worked with franchise teams, who's been around the modern game more than Sanath has. In terms of players, I'd just like to see them stick to the same core group for a period, give people proper runs. Like, how has a player as talented as Matisha Patharana ever had a genuine run on this side?
Mm-hmm. But I also think as well, like with Patisha Patharana as well, I think he needs like a bit of competition as well. I don't think he's ready yet to be able to take that role as like the senior seamer. I still feel like there are still a couple of other bowlers as well in the rankings. Madhushanka, for example. Even as well, and it's sad that we're not really playing like a lot of series prior to the World Cup, aside from this, and I think like England touring Sri Lanka. But like, and I've said this before as well, like even Charming the Wickramasinghe, like I think would be like a good shout as well, and I think, players like him, Pavan Ratnayaka, Milan Ratnayaka to an extent, Dunit Velalage could really fill that void that we have, which is in our lower batting, lower middle order. Somebody that can kind of like glue the innings together, somebody that can stick with the tailenders. I feel like that issue needs to be rectified in Sri Lanka. And I feel like if you're constantly selecting somebody like a Shanaka for that role as well, I don't think there's going to be any progress. Somebody also mentioned about DDS as well. No thanks. I think you should just stick to red ball cricket, and give like the younger players at least an opportunity. Look at India. They're able to field three different teams, right? They have that luxury. And Sri Lanka, I wouldn't say have the luxury of fielding three different teams, but at least like a team and a half or two teams. And I think it's about time. It's series like this, your tri series and whatnot, where it's a good opportunity to really, just test the waters a bit instead of sticking to the same old method, like having KJP and Shanaka and them lot just, kind of wasting their time. I feel like the longer they stay in the team, the more you're delaying like these guys' opportunities and stuff. And, you know, it'll be too late because by then, they would be past their sell by date.
I so I'm not sure when I just don't think KJP ever leaves the side while Sanath is in charge. For whatever reason, and look, KJP's done some absolutely incredible things. He's had a kind of Forrest Gump-esque career, almost, right? Like the guy's won a World Cup with us. He's played probably the most extraordinary Test innings any Sri Lanka batter's ever played. He's had so many great kind of moments, and yet been at the same time been incredibly unremarkable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Dustin Sharnica, I've got so much love for him. I always think he steps in to do a hard job, and I just think in a sport where it's almost 90% about the mentality, he's got exactly the right mentality. So I think those are the two reasons why I wouldn't expect either of those two players to be leaving the side anytime soon.
Yeah, but you look at the age as well. They're 34, 35, right? How many years do they have left? 2 years, right? So why not prepare for the transition right now, right? With your younger players.
I think
like for me, I would approach it that way as well. I feel like as a squad, as a team, we don't really rotate as much as the other teams, right? Because you have players that KJP played a good innings the last match against Zimbabwe, I think. And aside from that, the other notable innings that he had was against India during the Asia Cup, which was a dead rubber at that point, right? But why not experiment at this point, right? Like, what do we have to lose? I'd rather fail with the new crop of players, right? Knowing that they have potential to reach, right? Whereas continuing with the tried and tested method of bloody Shanaka and Bhanuka Rajapaksa as well. I know during the Asia Cup I said that he was probably somebody that should be coming into the team. I can't lie, I kind of take back that comment, to be honest. Yeah, I admit I was wrong. So yeah, like players like those as well, because these guys are past it. At least for T20 cricket, these guys are past it. Shanaka doesn't really contribute much.
I also think, right, because I see this in football, fans look like us lot. We come on this and we look for short-term fixes for kind of long-term problems, which is how Barnacle comes in. It's all right us not talking about it. It's all right me going, Paul Angelo, he's the only person that can open the bowling for us in the World Cup, right? I'm not the actual person selecting the side. Successful professional sports teams in every discipline of sport make difficult long-term decisions that may necessarily bear fruit in the short term. Because 2 years ago we could have made this decision, right? This is the moment to drop AJP and Shanaka, for example. But we all know, Sri Lanka fans, that 2 years in Sri Lanka cricket time is like 20 years in any other cricket country.
I mean, like, even then as well, they should have taken that decision 2 years ago. Now it's a little too late. But even then, you've got nothing to lose if you drop these players, right? Yeah. Okay, fine. Shanaka had a decent cameo with the bat, went for a bit with the ball and took like a crucial catch as well. But aside from that, that's not good enough. He's simply just mediocre. And the fact that Sri Lanka got dropped, who I thought was doing a very good job, right? And then you end up with bloody Shanaka.
Like you end up giving him the captaincy as well. And like you said, right now is the time Sri Lanka needs to plan for the future. Drop these deadweight players, right? Bring in fresh blood. I don't care if they fail for a bit, back him. That's what they need to do. But yet again, like we're the ones with sense. Like unfortunately, the board doesn't have any sense whatsoever.
Son, I'm going to let you go, bro, because I want to bring Sal back. Thanks for joining, Sal. Welcome back.
Hey guys, hey,
Yeah.
can you hear it echo? I don't know if it's no, you're okay. Okay, great. Yeah, no, I mean, just on sort of those comments around Shanaka, I actually think he's like a very dynamic player in the side, and you know, as you said before, like he's stepped up in a number of areas. Like he does a number of things, ball, bat, fielding, in particular, is one of the best fielders essentially around in Sri Lanka. And I think he brings a bit of balance to the squad, and we have very few power hitters. Sri Lanka hasn't lived up to his potential as we thought he would, but there is that kind of potential, you know, that he could hit potentially, you know, 40 off 20 at some point during the tournament that we expect in February, and hope so. But yeah, so I back Sri Lanka. I think it's too close to the World Cup to make those changes. I think we need to put on our best 11, essentially, back our best 11, whether that's a mix of experience, youth, and then after the World Cup, then do that experimentation. And the same with Sanif. I think we shouldn't feed into the rhetoric that, you know, he should go. I think he's there, he's our coach until the World Cup, and then there should be a review about what happens thereafter. And yeah, and on Kusul, this has got to be probably his last big tournament. Kusul Pereira, his last big tournament, you would expect. So there should be a farewell for him afterwards. But you never know with Sri Lankan cricketers. They some of them stay a bit longer than they should. So you never know if there's a return for him. But yeah, I mean, I'd be really interested to get your views around the number 7 in our team. Who should that be? I can't see any evidence in the past of having a 7-4 kind of mix that the number 7 actually adds any value, like whether it's a specialist batsman in Kamindu of late or someone else previously. That actually they're far too late in the order to actually really make any impact at all. So yeah, it'd be good to get your views about the balance, whether you think it should be a 6-5 or 7-4. What do you think is the best combination in that kind of sense?
So for me, I think our strength is in our bowling, right? And actually, that's why we need to lean into it and try and basically stuff in as many specialist bowlers as we can. I also think Sri Lanka's other strength is in slinging. We're the only country in the world that produces slingers as regularly and have done basically since Lasipalinga, right? At the moment we've got 2 in Patarana and Nuwan Thushara. I think there was another slinger off with the emerging side.
Sankath.
Yeah, Sankath was there, and I think that there's a couple more as well in the kind of domestic setup as well. For me, I think home World Cup, Sri Lanka. You know, we know for the first couple of games, that stadium where Sri Lanka are playing will be absolutely rocking. Let's get a slinger in. The opposition batters will not be looking forward to facing Patarana or Thushara at home with a rocking stadium behind them in those opening couple of overs. That's why I would go kind of with the extra bowler. I don't know how you feel about that, Nick.
Yeah, I am a 6-5 man too. I think the real issue though, Sal, is whenever they seem to pick six.
I can't hear Nick.
Oh, can you not? Can you hear me, Marky?
I can hear you. Yeah.
Can you hear me now, Sal?
Just me.
No, I think the issue with I fully support 6-5. I think the issue with it is whenever they pick 6 batters, the batting seems to crumple in a heap, and you find yourselves 20 for 4. Whenever they play 7-4, the 7th batter never seems to bat. So it's just like it is a conundrum. I don't think a specialist batter at 7 is a good use of resources. I agree with Marky that you want one slinger at least in the team, especially if Sri Lanka gets served up some roads in the World Cup. A guy like Patarana who can completely take the pitch out of the equation. And I think Sri Lanka have to be braver with Hasaranga, right? We know he's a batter of talent. Moved away from the floater role for him pretty quickly. Like today, I thought he was actually the guy to come in when Jonathan Lianage did. They clearly, I know that Sanath loves his left rights, right? But I thought that was the time when Hasaranga could have come spinners on. But we're saying the same things over and over again, aren't we, Marky?
Yeah, I think the thing that we need to try and do from a kind of wider kind of fan perspective is not kind of get hooked on the looking for that short-term fix. We need the structure around it. And I look at Sri Lankan cricket, and I think the sad thing is that actually, you know, Sri Lanka's producing as many great cricketers as it's ever produced, if not more. It's producing many more better cricketers. The average Sri Lankan first-class cricketer is as good or better than the average first-class cricketer in most other places in the world, right? But the problem is once they step up into international cricket, that's when it's kind of falling down. It's a great problem to have. You look at England, you look at Australia, and the conversations are around, are we producing enough kind of first-class cricketers who are good enough to go on and play international cricket? Sri Lanka doesn't have that problem. Our problem is much easier to fix than the other two problems. I think we've got to look at the setup around the national side. I think almost after the World Cup, whoever, if there is a change, I don't know, I'm not sure there will be a change. I think Sanath might be, if Sri Lanka have a decent-ish World Cup, I think Sri Lanka Sanath might be in charge all the way to South Africa for the ODI World Cup. But I think at some point around T20, I want the thinking to almost flip to being about, right, how do we get as many Sri Lankan players playing in the big franchise leagues around the world? That's where they go off and they develop their resilience as players. They learn about different cricketing cultures. Getting a player to play in the 100 for a couple of, for 4 weeks in August is a great way for them to get used to playing in English conditions and to work with other coaches and develop their games and see what else they can do. I'd like that to be almost the focus for a year after this World Cup into, before the next T20 World Cup. I don't even know where that is. I haven't even looked. I couldn't tell you if the game on this weekend was a Saturday or Sunday. So, I'm not looking that far ahead as a fan, but I think that's the only way. We need, in the same way that Patton has come in and made that opening batter position his own, we need other players to do that. There's too many players who are kind of like, yeah, they're kind of good enough, could do something, could do a job, and don't make themselves undroppable. We need players to be made undroppable. We also, on top of that, we need to have a strategy for how we intend to win games. This is the Murali End, Nick. We're just going to come on and keep saying this for as long as you play cricket. Yeah.
Keep fucking ranting, man. The only thing I would say about your IPL franchise point is that haven't we kind of already been there, Marky? We've moved from 5-6 years ago, Issaru being the only guy in the IPL. You look at last year, I mean, there was Hasaranga, there was Theeks, there was Kamindu, there was Eshan, there was Patirana. Charith and Kusal got late gigs. Patham's surely going to get a gig this year. The year before, Dilshan Madhushankar got a contract. So we've I felt Sri Lankan cricket had got to that stage 12 to 24 months ago where there were enough guys good enough to get IPL contracts. But somehow the team has gone backwards amidst that.
Yeah, so for me, I think that we're bowling a lot of overs in the IPL. We're not batting a lot of balls though.
No, so that's very true.
We need to work on batting, getting batters into the IPL. I also think there is kind of a world beyond the IPL, right?
Totally.
There's an ODI World Cup in South Africa, right? SLC should be doing everything they possibly can to get players playing in the SA20 between now and then. Of course, we know what will happen. Is the thinking is still primitive, so they'll almost do what they can to stop them playing in that tournament. But actually, just going and playing the white ball, even though it is a slightly different format, in for a few weeks in South Africa and earning some money doing it, playing with different coaches, I think there's a lot that could be learned. Get them in the SA20, get them in the Big Bash, get them in the 100, get them in the CPL, just get them playing cricket all around the world, get them really solidified, because we all know this Sri Lanka team has enough talent to beat anyone on its day. If Future Mark walked through that door right now and said, I've come from mid-March just to let you know Sri Lanka win the World Cup, I'll be like, yeah, absolutely, can see it. We know the problem is at the moment is mental fragility. They're only going to get more resilient by believing in themselves more, going around and being able to do it more. Not every player is blessed with the same mental resilience of a Hasaranga or a Nisanka, or we've seen in the past with Sanga and Mahela and Murali and top tier talents. But that doesn't mean that they can't improve as players, that we can't get them to kind of better places. And that's why I think that you look at any T20 league around the world, you look at it, right? And there'll be players playing that league who me and you both know just about get into like county blast teams, right? English players who just about get into county blast teams, and they're going off and getting contracts. Sri Lanka and Sri Lankan players need to be those guys. If we can get our, I think it's only a matter of time before Malala Gay, because he's left-handed, is going to get picked up by every franchise. So if we can get Milan Ratnaika playing franchise cricket all around the world, that puts us in such a strong position going forward. I have no faith that the structure around cricket in Sri Lanka will change, because it's never been a stable and consistent thing. The only time it's ever been stable and consistent is when the players have been big enough and bold enough and resilient enough to actually go, no, that's not what's going to happen. We're going to run it our way, right? A couple of weeks ago, when the players felt uneasy in Pakistan, that's basically created a crisis in our side, because the system can't cope with the players kind of pushing back in any way, right? And I think the only way to break the cycle almost is that we just keep growing players who are big enough, who are so undroppable that they can't be sent home and the captaincy can't be taken off them.
Yeah, I totally agree, man. And you look at 96, right? It was Arjuna's team, and Dav Watmore was very much there in the background supporting him. I'm just not sure, Marquis, that there is that central figure in Sri Lankan cricket at the moment. I thought that when actually Hasaranga took over the captaincy, if we rewind the clock to when was that, 23, 24, after he had that great season in the LPL, that was the time when he could really mold the team in his image. But you see the issue. He goes to the World Cup, has a bad World Cup, and he's done as a captain. He's done as the floater. So again, it's this kind of reactive approach. I just really like to see Sri Lanka stick to a strategy, stick to a group of players, and like just some sense of congruence, even if it's just for 3 months or 6 months, instead of this feeling that you're just completely on kind of ground, just unknown terrain, right?
Yeah. Anyway, should we talk about the final on Saturday? Firstly, what are you doing on Saturday afternoon?
So on Saturday afternoon, I'm actually going to be away. I've started doing a thing with my uni mates for the first time this year, where we all pay into a direct debit, and then at the end of the year we go on a surprise trip. So I've organised it, but I can't say where it is. But so I will probably struggle to watch the cricket, but I'll be checking my phone every minute to see if wickets have fallen or runs have been scored.
So I paid the £5 to the PCB to watch it on their streaming service. But I noticed during the game it was also on YouTube. So you might be, I don't know where you're going, you might be able to watch it on YouTube.
Oh, that's excellent news.
Yeah.
My YouTube. I assume YouTube works wherever I'm going.
Yeah, I assume it does. We'll be back, obviously, just after the game. People ask where Dom is. It's Thanksgiving in the US, so he is with his family around the turkey. Yeah, it must be about lunchtime now, so they're tucking into it.
He was still watching the game, though.
He was still watching the game. He did also message in the comments earlier as well, but I assume he'll be back on Saturday. I don't know what his kind of movements are. We'll be back. It's Sri Lankan cricket, Nick. I was going to say, what do you think of this final? But absolutely anything can happen, can't it?
Anything could happen, man. And we have to remember that a month ago, this team put themselves into a position where they had to do some seriously stupid shit to lose to India. So like the talent is still there. I think that's why possibly we're more frustrated with the situation, right? Because we can see that this team should be doing so much better than they are. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if Sri Lanka come out and blow Pakistan away. I wouldn't be surprised if Sri Lanka are all out for 25.
Being a Sri Lanka fan, it's just one hell of a ride, isn't it? People in the comments, Savina and Sanuda are saying that the game is available in Sporty LK on the YouTube channel. I think that might be geo-blocked outside of Sri Lanka. I'm not sure. It's been one of those series where I was just like, do you know what? It's just easier for me to pay the money.
Just as a side point to that, the UK's cricket coverage is really poor, isn't it? I saw the other day they were showing Sri Lanka A versus Pakistan Shaheens on Willow in America. We can't even get this series on UK TV. So like, do better, UK sports channels.
Yeah. Lahindu said we will win. Look, of course I believe we will win. The reason, why I think Sri Lanka cricket is the best team in the world is not only have we got great players, not only are they the best looking players in the world, but it's where the magic lives as well, isn't it? I mean, today, that last over, that was magic, wasn't it? We'll be back on Saturday after the game in some configuration. We'll see you then. Please tell your friends and family about Murali End. Join the WhatsApp channel so that we can stay in touch. Just in case you're wondering, we can't see your number and you can't see ours. But if you want to, you can message me on all the other platforms. And we'll see you all on Saturday. See you later. Bye.
It's the Murali End, you're the place to be. Analyze the players and the team. Keep a great company in the stream.
It's a Murali End. Welcome to the show. We're here when you're high. We're here when you're low. Some days you're happy, some days you wanna when happy it's we, when mad it's them. It's the same place, Murali End. Sri Lanka cricket we go represent. Go tell a friend.